You're listening to Excellence Above Talent, a podcast where we have the hard conversations about the lives of men and what leads us to achieve greatness and suffer defeat. Hear from other men's journeys as well, as we all learn and grow together to become inspirations to ourselves and those around us. And now your host, Aaron Thomas.
My beautiful people, Aaron Thomas with Excellence Above Talent, here with Kelsie and Yanni, and I'll let them kind of tell you about themselves, and then we'll jump into the podcast.
Hey, my name is Kelsie. I'm so excited to be here today. I work for a beauty subscription company, and my hobbies are beauty. I do beauty blog and things like that. So those are my hobbies. I also like to, hobbies that people don't know about would be like playing guitar. Whenever I don't have nails on, I do play guitar. I enjoy TikTok. I like to write. I like all things like journalism. So I like to read. And yeah, those are just a few of my hobbies.
So can I ask, where can they find you at?
You can find me on TikTok at Kelsie Colette, Collette, and that same name on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome.
You make me seem so boring. Hello, everyone. My name is Yanni. I am a member of the Black Chamber as well as the Black Cultural Council. I currently work for the state. I don't have anything that cool going on at all, honestly.
I don't either.
With me being in school studying Homeland Security Emergency Management.
So that's pretty cool.
Right.
So,
I don't know about right now, but it works.
I got you.
And then as far as my hobbies, honestly, I'm pretty much just in the community doing different things, hanging out, meeting new people. I'm kind of new to this area. I've been here about maybe 3 years, so still getting to know everyone.
I don't think you're not new. You've been here for 3 years, girl. You're not new.
That was during COVID and everything else. Everybody was stuck in their house, so I feel like I'm still new. I'm still meeting new people every day.
Well, no, you know what? She's not new, because people will ask me, like, what is there to do here? And I will literally call Yanni, and I'm like, Yanni, tell me what there is to do here, because she gets out more than me. So I'm always like, Yanni knows Odessa more than I know Odessa, which is really embarrassing. I shouldn't be admitting that on this podcast, but here we are.
But I know because of the groups I'm in.
Okay.
Not because,
I'm new.
So.
All right, cool. So first question I want to ask is, do you feel like relationships are harder in this generation?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well, I mean, being that I haven't been in relationships in other generations, I can speak for now. Yeah, I do feel like relationships, compared to what I've heard and talking to maybe even like my mom or other family members who are older and things like that, I do feel like they're harder. I can speak from my own personal experience. I feel like men are a lot less intentional, and maybe I can say men around the age that I am. So I'm 30. So I guess the 25 to 35 that I've talked to seem to not be as intentional about how they feel. Not really in like making it clear, or I mean, I hate to like use the like pursuit, but like, honestly, like that's it. And so, and that's not to say that I feel like men should be, I feel like women should meet halfway too. Like, I'm not saying that like, oh, they should just do the work. No. A woman definitely shouldn't play games, and you should let somebody know that you're interested. But, I don't want to like beg you to date me either. So yeah, I do feel like men are a lot less intentional from what I hear, from other older, people who have dated in other generations.
So let me ask you this question then. If a guy is into you and he's like really into you, is that not a turnoff?
No.
Do you want like the chase, or like if a guy's really into you and he's saying it, like, because I mean, I've had people on this podcast, and they've also said like, if I really like a girl, I'll go out and I'll pursue her. But because it seems like I want her more than she wants me, then she kind of like is turned off. So is that something that happens? Like if someone's like really chasing after you,
Right.
maybe you're not feeling them like that, but
So for me, I feel like it's so. I think Yanni and I have said this. I was like, we complain sometimes about certain things that men do, but I was like, if it's the guy that we like doing it, we don't complain about it. Like, we're not mad that he's overly interested or that sort of thing. So it is kind of like it sucks because it's like sometimes it ends up being somebody you're not interested in. And when they are overly, but usually, let me make that clear, this guy would know that I'm not interested in him. So I would have like already made that clear. I don't want to play games. I don't want to lead you on. So I would have definitely already have said that I'm not interested in you. And then if you continue to be like kind of overly interested in me, it is a turn off.
Gotcha.
Now, if it's someone that I'm showing clear interest in, like it's mutual interest and they're showing that you're interested in me, absolutely. Like I personally don't like games. So I like that you're into me. I don't care if you double text me. Like I'm not here to like we're not 13. You know what I mean? Like if you're interested, be interested.
Gotcha.
Like because if you're not, there's other people who, will be interested and like you never want to like miss out on something that you could have had with somebody all because they weren't, putting themselves out there.
Gotcha.
I agree. I'm the same way though. But I think if as far as a guy showing me attention, I feel like this happened recently, where I feel he was a little bit more into me than I was. But I did let him know, like, hey, I'm interested in you, but I just moved a little slower. But I did make sure and reassure that he knows that, hey, I am interested.
I feel like you put him in a friend zone. That's
No,
what
I
it
didn't.
sounds
I
like.
didn't put him in a friend zone. It's just I feel like I'm telling him like, hey, I see you making the effort. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But you just have to give me a little time to warm up to get there. That's not friend zoning. That's just saying, give me a second.
Right.
Yeah,
To fill you out, to see what you're really trying to do.
But if you liked them, then you wouldn't be saying, give
No,
me time.
I liked him, and like he still got the same.
Oh, okay, I
like-
got you.
I kind of agree with him that
That's
I don't
not
know.
friend zoning.
I feel like
not friend zoning, but I kind of agree with him about if you liked him. I think when all was said and done, can you admit that you maybe did not like him as much as you might have thought?
no, it's a fact. Like, she's laughing
Yes,
because she's
is.
okay. She's gonna act like no, she liked him. But if you like somebody, you're not gonna be like, well, hold on, give me a. Yeah. We know you liked him. Like we're not disputing that. What we're disputing is you didn't like him. That's why you said, hey, give me some time to think about it. But I also feel like games are unnecessary.
That's true.
Like if I'm reading a book and it's ways to a superior man, and women test men to test out his bitch assness.
Thanks.
So in relationships, when guys are running around saying she's nagging or she's bitching or she's always talking, he's not listening because what she's trying to do is test to see how he's going to react a certain way. And if he does, she loses trust in him. So if he starts acting a fool or yelling or screaming, then she'll start losing trust for that person. But if he doesn't allow her to affect him, she gains more trust, right? So the games are never going to stop being played.
Right.
And if you do stop playing the games, then I don't think you're feeling each other like, you think you are.
Right.
But there's always going to be like a certain level of game. There has to be a cat and a mouse when it comes to it. Sometimes it's, the woman chasing. Sometimes it's the man chasing. But
I think it's, I guess maybe yes, games, I guess, games can carry a negative
for sure
sense with it. And so I guess when I hear games, I'm like, I don't want to play games. But on the flip side of that, no, I do want to know that if I push, do you pull? Because I feel like that's actually great qualities for a husband. Like, I want to know that, like, if I push, you're not just going to be like, okay, I'm out, peace. Like, we want to know that, I think about, like I have a friend and she now has 3 kids with the guy that she ended up marrying. But I know that prior to them getting married, they were dating. I remember she wasn't really playing games, but she was just like, girl, I quit talking to him completely. Like, I got scared. I didn't think that was you know, like it was too good to be true. Like this has to not be right. And she quit talking to him altogether.
Yeah, them games. No. Let me just stop them games because again, she wants to see how he reacts.
No, she definitely it was probably
if he didn't react in a certain way, she wouldn't have went back to him.
No, she wouldn't.
If he acted like, oh, okay, cool,
bye,
I'm not worried about you. Well, guess what? Now she's gonna come back like running. But if he's like double texting and like calling, she's gonna be like, oh, okay, he's too needy, and she's gonna leave.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that what did like hook and reel her was the fact that he was still very persistent and like, you're who I want.
Gotcha.
Like, I'll do whatever it takes to like be with you. And then she knew like, this is not a man who's going to easily leave me.
Gotcha.
Like, if times get hard, if I feel like I'm going to run, like, this is what she, you know, and she did tell me, she was like, that's what got me. Like, he came back, like he continued to, even in my like stupidity or my, you know, getting scared and running or that sort of thing. She was like, stupidity would be the word, but you know, just getting scared, that sort of thing. And running, she was like, he came back and that's what got her. So yeah. I mean, like you said, then there is, even if we don't want to say it, it is a level of game being played or, you know.
We're testing.
Yeah.
You know, we're always testing. Right. Yanni?
Yeah.
That one question.
What's the question
again? Do you feel relationships are harder in this generation?
I feel like we make them harder.
Gotcha.
Or certain circumstances make them harder. I was thinking about this question. I think one of the main things is like social media plays a key part. I think people see like other celebrities or just other people in general post about their relationships and what they're doing and what they have going on. And they may not have it in their relationship. So I think that plays a key part. And I do agree, though, that intentional thing is big. But I think social media for sure nowadays makes things harder when it comes to dating.
Got you. Do you know the average age of a man to mature?
Is it like 30 or 35? Maybe probably 50, honestly, because 30 still don't have it together.
43.
I was going to say 40.
The average
so you can date someone who's 43.
I mean, and that's the average age. You might get somebody and still be immature. The average age of a woman is 32. So y'all are still, 2 years away.
I'm 31.
Oh, well, then you're 1 year away. But yeah, the average age for a woman is 32 and a man is 43. So it's, I think a lot of it is men don't want to do the work. Yeah. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you realize like, you are this person or you are this monster or you've been raised a certain type of way, you kind of run from the work because that work is very hard to do.
Right.
Because you have to like break down everything that you have learned over time and then kind of like rebuild that foundation of yourself.
Right.
And that's a scary place to be in for men, not knowing who they are, and trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I think a lot of men at some point will start to do that, but it just takes them longer, which sucks for everybody, women, family, just everybody, because a strong man, I feel, is what this nation needs to build it up and make it better. Right. I'm not saying just men alone, but I just think men have to be stronger in all aspects of life. Okay, so how would you define love?
Go ahead and answer the question.
Oh, okay.
Sign language. I'm like, you going to answer? You go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, how would I define love? Love to me is choosing someone daily and actually standing behind the vows that you made with that person when maybe everything was going good. I truly believe loving someone in sickness and in health, being by their side in hard seasons and showing up for that person. Using this word again, but love is intentional and being intentional with the person you love and whatever time you all spend together. And maybe not so pretty, but I think that love is messy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always fit in a box. Yeah. Love can sometimes look like holding on to someone and working something out. And in other ways, it can look like letting go of a situation and loving them down the street. That's what my pastor used to tell me. She used to always be like, listen, you can love somebody from down the street. So that's what that looks like. And then I said, I think that most of all, love is what works best for those two people. Friends or family may not understand your choices, but it's not up to them. And so I listened to Brene Brown. She's like a writer. You know who she is? Okay. Yeah,
I love Brene Brown.
love Brene
Yeah.
Brown. Okay, so in one of her books, Daring Greatly, there's a quote, and let me pull it out because I wanted to read this one. Is she said, "If you are not in the arena getting your ass kicked on occasion, I am not interested in or open to your feedback." And so the reason I like that quote is because it was like love is showing up to fight in the arena with your partner, even if you don't know what's going to end. And so like that's what love looks like to me. Like it's messy, it's a fight, like but you're on the inside, you know? So many people can be on the outside giving you opinions on how love should be or what love should look like with you. But you know, if they're not in the arena fighting with you, they're not taking the punches, they're not taking the hits, they're not helping the other person up, you know, their nose isn't bleedy, like they can't really tell you what love is. So that's just my tidbit on what love is to me.
Almost made me cry.
I was like, that's good.
That was good. You
I
probably
did-
should have went first.
Look, she's obviously the journalist and writes. I'm just like, what is love? But it made me think, like, when it comes to my marriage and my ex, like, a lot of people at first are like, why are you getting married? And I was like, well, I love him, which I definitely truly did. But, there's a lot of people had a lot of opinions and a lot of views. I got married when I was 22. My ex-husband was 30. So there's a lot that went with that. But I was in it for the end until I just honestly couldn't fight anymore. And I kind of was like, okay, well, I need to start loving myself.
Right.
Because at that point it was like either do or, you know, something bad could happen. But I do agree. Love is messy. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Even when it comes to friendships sometimes, because you know we're just speaking from relationships, but friendships too. You can love your friends and it can get messy,
Right.
especially if you guys both aren't ready to talk about things. Love is it's a beautiful thing, especially if you get up every day when it comes to like your significant other, your friends, and just choose them and choose to love them as they are and grow with them. I think it's important too with love. But yeah, I think Kelsie kind of hit that one on the head.
You did a really good job saying what you said. Yeah, that was really good.
So I'm reading a book
How many
called
books are you
All About
reading?
Love. I read it all the time. I have like 4 or 5 different books I read.
Nice.
But it's called All About Love by Bell Hook.
Okay.
And they talk about how we all assume love to be a feeling. And so we're looking for that feeling.
Right.
And what y'all are saying is so true. Sometimes you don't feel that feeling, but you still have to get up and choose the person that you say you love.
Yeah.
Being intentional about it. You know, it's messy sometimes. And when it's messy, you're looking at that person like, I don't like you right now.
Right.
But you still show up. And you still are intentional and you're still consistent with being there for that person without that feeling. And so sometimes we get it mixed up with like, I need to feel that feeling. And if I don't, then I'm going to go look for it somewhere else. And you will, and you'll find it. But then you'll also come back to that same exact feeling of like, okay, I don't feel this way now. And so you're always searching for something that
that sounds like lust.
You'll never find. So. I mean, it could be lust. Well, people assume that they love, but I don't think a lot of people even know like what truly love is.
Right.
Because the love that I got from my mom and dad, like, was it really love? Because then it was love, but then like it was, you know, a certain type of love, and that's the love that I'm going to give to other people. But it's also like what kind of love did they get from their parents, you know? My dad, dad wasn't around. His mom died at an early age. So he loved me the best that he could. And then my mom and, and her family, like they had like, issues, but they, my grandpa and grandma stayed together, and she loved me the best way that she could. So you question like that type of love that they give me. Am I giving that type of love out to other people? And is it really love, or is it like just feelings and things of that nature?
Right.
So
sometimes, sometimes something that like I like to think about is people can only love in the capacity of what they've ever received love.
That's true.
And so just like you were saying, I grew up, it was just my mom, and my mom was a single parent. And so I talked to her about, my mom taught me with no negative intent, but she taught me to how to make it without a man, And I tell her, I'm like, Mom, in a lot of ways that is it helped me because I wasn't like dependent on men, but I was like in my 20s, it also hurt me. And I was like, because I needed to also know what it looks like to like be okay with like wanting a man or wanting a relationship or needing someone or like not having to be the person in charge or not having to be bossy. And I was like, so but my mom could only show me to the level of what she received herself.
Yeah.
And so I definitely always take that into account, that whenever I feel like certain people I'm talking to or whatever, I'm like, they're not really showing a lot of love, but I look at their like history and I say like, for them, that's love. You know what I mean? I may look at it and be like, oh, love for me is I need more words or I need more actions. But then I'm like, if they didn't grow up like that, maybe I have an uncle who never says I love you, but he will go and like build you a house.
Yeah.
And that that's his way of showing that he loves you, is putting his work effort into that. So that kind of makes me think that like maybe he didn't grow up saying I love you a lot, but he has his ways of showing love. So I think it's also that would also, I don't want to go too deep, but that would also go into learning people's love language.
Yes.
Because you may realize like, oh, they don't say I love you as much. Although words are good, I think everybody should tell people that you love them. But you may realize like, oh, they spend a lot of time with me. That's how that person shows love.
Yeah.
That's their love language. Or they're always gifting me. That's their love language,
Yeah. For sure. So do you think society in general cares about issues that men have?
I would say yes. Society does care about men and how they're feeling, but I would say they care, but I don't know if men realize that they care or want to admit that they need help.
Got you.
I think is the thing.
Right.
Ooh, okay, that's a different spin on that. No one ever came and said that. Okay.
Well, because I think it's true. I think they care if the men want to admit, hey, I need help with whatever they're dealing with. But a lot of times I feel like men are raised to, be providers and be strong and not show their feelings. So they act like they don't have feelings and nothing's ever wrong. So then it's like, okay, you guys have these resources, but no one uses them because everyone's okay and everyone's figuring it out. That's how I feel.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
That's good. So I feel like right now, like especially with there being like a pandemic and things like that, so I feel like in some ways people are all getting a very valid pass to have mental health problems. Like it's not as weird anymore. It's not that stigmatism around it. I myself, like I go to therapy. Like
Me too.
I'm very Yanni and I, we have the same therapist. Not intentional. I've had her for the longest, but Yanni's still my therapist.
Whatever.
Shout out to our therapist. But listen, but no, like I feel like right now, it's almost like it's okay to be dealing with mental health problems. People are dying at large numbers that have never like this has never happened. So like that's not normal,
Yeah.
So it's okay to like have I guess for men to have issues or to feel pressure on them. So I definitely feel like right now, if we wanted to base it off of society, I feel like it's more acceptable now for for men's issues and things like that. Yeah, I guess that's it. I feel like right now that it's acceptable for men to have to have problems. I feel like people are in support of that. They're in support of men's mental health. But I also think that kind of like what Yanni said, it's more so like it's not enough for society to care. Okay, I'll use an example. I feel like whenever there's like, maybe this will go too deep, or maybe I should.
Oh no!
Okay.
Yeah, the deeper it is, the better it is for me. I enjoy deep conversations.
So I saw something on Twitter the other day, and they were saying how like Black women in particular always will go to bat for Black men when there's like a problem, if they are gunned down, if they're shot down. You hear the loudest on social media from Black women, but those same Black women aren't always protected by the same Black men that we're shouting and holding posters for and things like that. And so it kind of goes back, just to tie that in, not to get too like political or anything, but just to tie that into what Yanni was saying, is do they care?
Yeah.
Because it's not enough for me or society to care about your mental health or to care about your issues or different things like that. do you care enough about your issues to be able to admit that you have a problem or that you're dealing with something or that you're struggling, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's when we talk about black men and black women, and I think it goes way deeper than anyone really wants to talk about when it comes to slavery,
Right.
not being able to protect, his family,
Right.
watching, another man, take his wife, watching his kids get taken away. I feel like it's generational, where what society has done, what white people have done, what white men have done was they put women in the forefront in the black community, and so it's called the Willie Lynch letter, and they talk about how you break I guess you call it like a coat, like a male horse.
Right.
How you break the male horse to where he's not really leading, and you want the female to he's teaching the female to eat out of the man's hand, and so when the female is then now having babies, she's teaching the babies how to eat out of the man's hand. And the way that they broke black men, where they would like rape black men in front of everybody, or they would put horses on all four arms and legs and like rip them apart. And so there's like it's something that I feel like is way deeper than what it is that we're talking about, but it's something that I guess it needs to be talked about too, because black women shouldn't be on an island, but I feel like no one's really talking about them being on an island and not having like any backup or any help.
Right.
There are some men who will, but there's not a lot that will come, because I don't know. I just feel like there's something that generational that we need to just kind of
disconnect.
Have more conversations about, because it's something that it's real, I feel.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that. I believe that's true. Like I don't remember her name, but it was a story. It was a girl on Twitter, and I remember like doing all of the George Floyd situation. She was out like protesting, that sort of thing. Long story short, at some point in there, she ended up being arrested. She was molested or she was raped and killed. And I just think about her story about like, dang, you were a black woman out there fighting, and like, look how it ended. Like this just shows like kind of like.
But then also no one protested or
no. It was just talked about on Twitter, and then it kind of just fizzled out. Right. Yeah.
Understandable. Okay, so men are 3.5 times more likely to commit suicide than women. So I believe there are 132 suicides daily, and 94 of those suicides are men. Why do you think that rate is so high? I think Yanni touched on it a little bit, but just like, why do you think that's high?
So I feel that men live up to some version of manliness or masculinity that the world, or maybe even a parent, has given them. A lot of men growing up weren't allowed to be vulnerable without that being seen as either weakness or a feminine trait, so something that they were like teased on. As someone who goes to therapy, I already mentioned that. I know what it takes, and it takes you being honest with yourself and looking inwardly, brushing things off, sweeping things under the rug, or convincing yourself that you don't need help is not the best way to go about that. I think that emotions begin to boil and things become overwhelming, which is the reason why some men commit suicide. I also feel that some men feel a lot of pressure to live up to a certain standard, which can then create depression that can also lead to suicide.
Yeah, I agree. I think the main thing, like when I meet guys or talking to guys, even just have male friends, I always try to let them know, like, hey, I can be a safe place for you if you would like. I know there was a guy that I was talking to at one point, and he was trying to live up to a standard that I'm not even sure where he got it from.
Yeah.
But it became too much, and I could tell in his demeanor. And I approached him and I told him, but he really wasn't ready to share. He shared a little bit, but not a lot. But I think living up to or trying to live up to a certain standard and then also just not being honest with oneself to say, hey, I do need help. And then kind of like isolating themselves to try to reach to a certain standard, I think also plays a part in it as well.
Yeah. All right. So the suicide rate for men, a lot of it is white men that are doing it.
Right.
But black men, although they're not committing suicide at a higher rate, they're doing something.
Right.
What do you feel like, black men are doing to, create chaos or destruction in their life because they're having issues with explaining and talking about things with people? So it might not be suicide, but what do you think is like another thing that black men maybe deal with in place of it or try to do to, hide from their feelings?
I would say like stop living and like start picking up like bad habits. Like they're not there for their family. They're doing things they know they shouldn't be doing. I would say that's what I would say, really.
Yeah, I think that question kind of got me. What do I think they're doing? It could be a number of things. I think that some of them become kind of like maybe like date multiple women. I mean,
True.
I'm thinking numbing. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, how do they numb
Yeah.
what they're dealing with? They become this person that they're not. I don't believe some people are, but I don't believe that people wake up with the idea of like, how can I hurt someone? How can I hurt multiple women? But I think that in some way numbs and eases a part of them,
Yeah.
I think that's one way.
For them 5 minutes, and then they gotta still deal with the pain.
Right, exactly, and still deal with the pain. It could be, I guess I feel like I can't really speak too much for what black men are doing because I don't know.
But I think you hit it on the head.
Okay.
Black men are way more sexually promiscuous,
Right,
I feel,
okay.
when it comes to not dealing with emotions and not
Right.
dealing with things, and they just, they go out and they try to conquer, to try to numb, to try to feel good. So, instead of, doing that, they just destroy families because you destroy families by doing that.
Right.
You destroy families by, having kids and not taking care of kids and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And it was just for fun and it wasn't anything. You didn't care about the consequences that could have happened because you didn't wrap it up. You know what I mean? So
unfortunately, yes. Okay, so with that, yes, I do actually see that. I guess that's one thing that I do see a lot of the just getting multiple women pregnant, multiple baby mamas and not taking care of them. And it's like you're only creating more children who are going to grow up however you grew up, you know. Like you say that you want to be different, but I mean, and definitely I know good black men too,
for sure.
But the ones who are just kind of being more careless. And honestly, that not only is that careless with you and how you handle your relationships, but that's also careless with yourself. You're not thinking of even like the different like ways of just like protection or things like that. And so maybe that could also be like a self-love type thing. You're not loving yourself enough to respect yourself enough. So
yeah, we can all put on the front to be like that good black man, but we don't know what's really going on.
Right.
Like I'm big on stories.
Okay.
Like if you can't tell me your story, then I don't know if I can like trust you fully as like a person or a human being.
Right.
That makes sense.
Because I feel like stories change the narrative.
Right.
Like if the world never heard stories, the world will never change.
Right.
And I feel like there's a lot of people out there hiding behind this facade of like who they want to be. I ain't gonna lie. I was that like good black man.
Right.
People assume like, oh, okay, like he's out in the community, he's doing all these things. But I still had, demons and monsters that I was trying to deal with on top of that.
Right.
And at some point, what's done in the dark will come to light.
Right.
And so, a lot of my things have been played out over the internet because I feel like if I went through it, if I had a porn addiction, dealing with alcohol and things of that nature, well, then I'm not the only person doing it. So there's other people out there that might need to hear like my story of like, get your shit together because you could potentially, mess up your life and someone's life who is and has been really good for you. right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, pay attention to, those signs, like go get help, go get a counselor, talk about
That's
things.
good.
Yeah. So I have a counselor too. So it's just one of those things
Awesome.
where, you at some point, we make this assumption that, when you see someone, and I guess it's just here and like this little area where, people that have status or money, they're viewed differently than other people. And it's one of those things where like, because, you have status and money doesn't mean like you're not dealing with the same issues that everyone else is dealing with.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But it's just one of those things where if you stay quiet, no one questions it.
Yeah.
And if you talk about it, then you're like a pariah or someone who's just like, oh God, like he's dealing with all this stuff. And I'm saying that because it has happened to me where,
Right.
and I also understand why people don't speak out. Because if you do speak out, then there's like these judgmental eyes, and that people then get to look at your life and try to break it down. And the funny part is their life is still jacked up, but
Say it again.
they get to, at some point they get to like just look at you and like, point fingers and say ha ha about you. But at some point they got to go back to their lives and figure it out. And it's just like it's easier for me to look at you and be like ha ha versus look in the mirror and be like, oh God, like who am I?
Right.
And so I think a lot of people just run around there and try to do that. They run around, especially men, because men don't want to deal with their issues and their dramas and their demons and their monsters. They run around and look at other men and say, well, at least I'm not him, or at least I'm stronger than him, perceived stronger than him.
Yes, right.
I had a Facebook post about me getting divorced, crying, snot crying and everything, but it was 100% real. The most views I ever had. The most views I ever had. Ain't nobody gave a damn about it. Nothing else I put on Facebook. But I'm over here talking about all my drama and issues.
I would like to say
that
I'm guilty.
The most views I've ever had.
Right.
And I've had guys like, oh man, I seen your Facebook post. You didn't like, you haven't liked anything on my page. Right. So support the page. Yeah. So then like you're telling me exactly what I need to know.
Right.
Right. You're making that assumption because, I put myself out there that I'm viewed as weaker or less than, which again is not what the case is. So
I can tell you, like, I don't know a man's view of what you put out, but I can tell you because I spoke to Yanni actually, like, whenever you made that post.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so one thing that I really like about Aaron, I was like, it takes a lot to like put yourself out there and to tell your story and to walk in your truth, even if your truth is messy and it's not attractive and it's ugly. I was like, people relate to that.
Yeah.
Like people, I feel like for what it's worth, even the guys who were like fronting, like, oh, at least I ain't deal with that.
Yeah.
People relate to that, people relate to authenticity. They relate to struggles. They relate to, it makes you relatable. I think that, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I'm sure you had people maybe like reach out to you and like, man, I was dealing with that too.
100%.
Never wanted to say it, never
100%.
wanted to admit it. But then I saw your post.
Yeah.
And so, for what it's worth, I will know, like, I went there. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's really honest. Like, that's, authentic. It may not be pretty. It may not be whatever. But I was like, he's walking in his truth. Like, that's honestly the best way of walking in freedom. You can't walk in freedom if you're not going to be honest with yourself.
You can't get me because I put it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can't have like
you can't
anything over my head.
Right.
Well,
There's
you
nothing
did
that
this.
you can tell.
I told you, stupid. Like, duh. what you got? So
That's good. That's good. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
I was going to say the same thing. I commend you because I watched it and I've been following you though, so I've been keeping up.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, wow, that's nice. And I know that there are men out there of all different ages that are looking at it and like, thank you. I needed to hear that. Thank you. They know like they're not the only one. At least they know, if they're going through something, they have someone to reach out to.
Yeah.
So I commend you. Keep it up. Someone is listening to it. Someone needs to hear it. Someone needs to see it. So there may be days where you're like, why am I doing this? Or does it really matter? It does.
Yeah.
Someone.
For sure.
Definitely. And I feel like I'm on the same thing though. Because nowadays I just be, ask me a question, I'll tell you. If I did it, I did it. If I didn't, I didn't. It is what it is.
I can tell you right now, I am free.
Yeah.
35 years old. Like I've never ever felt this way before. Yeah, but you're 31, so.
Tell her don't play you.
Women age. Oh no, I ain't gonna say that.
Anyway,
I ain't trying to get canceled. But I do feel like there's a level of freedom with just like being truthful.
Right. Living in your truth.
Yeah, I don't have to. I mean, I'm not putting on this mask. I'm not trying to act like I'm holier than thou. I used to be that guy who like looked down on other people.
Right.
Like there's a lot of jobs out here. It's easy to find a job, like no compassion, no empathy, just like because I thought I was, somebody. Baby, let me tell you, God will humble you.
Won't he do it? Won't he do it?
I always tell people don't ever think it came to you because it very well so can 100%.
And that's where I'm at now. I'm like, okay, cool. Like you can laugh and you can like create whatever you want to create and do what you want to do, but at some point, if you don't get your life together, God will humble you, and when He humbles you, He will humble you. But I also believe that He humbles you to tell you that He loves you, but also, hey, let your story out. Like we were created to help other people and not just like hold all of this pain and frustration, all this stuff in and act like we're perfect. So I don't know. I'm not understanding why we have to feel like as humans we have to walk around here like we have like this perfect face on and there's nothing going on in our lives, and it's all a lie because we know I'm not the only one.
Yes,
there's a lot of people out there struggling with a lot of different things, and it's just one of those things where talking about it makes it like it's a healing thing for me now.
And I always try to tell people like you don't have to like for you. So you use your platform that's podcasting. When I can get back to it, I blog. So like that's why I said like I'm not as comfortable or used to being on a podcast. But I feel you can tell.
Can't tell it all.
But I definitely feel more comfortable whenever I'm writing, and I feel like not everybody has to go that route because not everybody has to know your story or your truth. But I always say go talk to a therapist. You don't have to go and make posts about it if that's not your thing, if you want to whatever you're dealing with is more private, because there's definitely things that I've talked to my therapist about that I always tell her, I'm like, girl, this is between me, you, and the Lord. listen, this between us three. But for real though, it's just like you said, when you talk to someone, well, here's the thing, when you walk around with something or there's like a level of shame with it, and talking it release the shame, because like you said, not even your mind, not even the enemy, I'm spiritual, so not even the devil or not even the enemy can like hold that over you, because it's like, oh, I talked about that. I already addressed that. So try it again. You know what I mean? So I definitely think like walking in your truth and talking to whoever you can.
I think also for some of the like older generation, don't forget the younger generation. Like there's stuff that we know, there's wisdom that we have to, I feel like anyway, pass down, let people know. And it's crazy because I always say like, oh yeah, I would love to be a mentor. I say that. And then the funny thing is I always end up training new people at work, and they always want to tell me their stories and want my advice. And I'll be all in for it. I'd be like, okay, well, let me help you with this. And it's funny because one went through a similar situation with me as far as a divorce. And I can tell that she was hurting. And I feel like the Lord made that happen. And I was able to love on her so that way she can, I feel like, love on her kids and kind of get back to living.
Right.
So it was a blessing for me. The funny thing is I have one of the rings she gave me. It says, I am enough. She wore it every single day. And I was like, oh my God, I need that ring. And her mom had an extra one and gave it to me. It's my favorite ring ever. So it's crazy how things work sometimes.
I like that.
For sure. I think again, going back to the suicide rate, that's, one of the issues that men have. We're not walking in our truth. We feel like, especially Black men, we feel like there's like an added pressure. Like I have to be better than in order to even be viewed as some type of equal. And that just creates a lot of like, pressure, unnecessary pressure that we put on ourselves, because we just should be just ourselves and let the chips fall where they are. Because at the end of the day, people aren't the ones that blesses you. God is the one that blesses you, and that God is, that's where you get your strength and things from. It's not from people. And I think a lot of us just we run around and we're trying to look for other people to give us something that they can never give us.
Right.
So
Only God can fulfill.
only God can. And I know for a fact that's one of the things that my issues. Instead of going to God, what the issue was, God was in my heart, in my life. I didn't have any of these problems. But then life got easier, and I started to feel empowered.
I'm good without
And so
him.
then I took God out of the equation and put myself in the equation. And I became, that mini God in my life. And we make horrible gods because we make all these decisions and choices and off of feelings. Yeah. And then now, then you start to realize like, oh crap, my life is going downhill. Then you try to put God back in it, but you're already in that spiral. Yeah. So what God usually do is let you just go in that spiral. And then once you hit that rock bottom or perceive rock bottom, then you go back and then you're in church every week and you're praying and it's like, oh, okay. So it's just like that game that, we play all the dang time. So what does a high value man look like to you?
Okay. So a high value man to me looks like a man that knows what he wants and his actions match. Good. And with knowing what he wants, he still walks humbly with it.
Yeah.
But just doesn't play the games. Like he's, there to handle his business, get things done. I would think that's high value man. It moves in a certain way. It's good.
What you thinking?
Swaggy.
Oh Lord. Okay. What is swaggy? Like
just the way a man carries himself. A confident man.
Got you.
There we go.
Not an insecure man. I got you.
No. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh, wait, hold on. You mean like what? I feel like is there a story behind that? No. There's no story behind that. Do you feel like most men are insecure? Like the ones that you have talked to, is there like a lot of insecurity with men?
The ones I've talked to?
Yeah.
I would say like half and half.
Okay.
I've dealt with confident men and men that move that way, but then
like too confident, or
yeah, I felt like their ego was too big.
So it wasn't. It was like they wasn't walking around humble then.
No.
Gotcha.
No, he's gonna be humbled one day.
Yeah. Whoever you are, God bless you, brother.
We gonna send you this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
I stand by my statement.
Yeah. We stand by it too. But change your ways. We don't want to be a humble boss, man. Hey, go ahead and change your ways. Go ahead and put God back in your life and start living right.
That's gonna reach you on the podcast, okay? So for me, a high value man to me is one that has integrity. He's an honest man. He's in touch with his emotions. He values himself, which I can see in the way he represents himself. He is intentional and passionate in everything he does. And he's confident, like Yanni said, in who he is and whatever that is that he brings to the table. So I wanted to be very specific about that and being confident in who he is and whatever he brings to the table. Because I feel like kind of like men feel the pressure to like have this like, oh, we have to bring all of this to the table and then I will be confident. No, be confident in your table. If your table's a foldable table, be confident in that. That's whatever it is that you bring, like you don't have to, or for me, I can say you don't have to have a certain standard or whatever. Be confident in who you are and what you bring and what you can do. You know? So yeah.
Stand in your truth.
All right, that's real good. There's a saying that I love, and again, it's this book, Ways to a Superior Man. I read it all the time because it's like a small little snippet. Like each day has like one page of like something, and the guy said the way a man. Let me see how you phrase it. The way a man has sex with the world is the way he has sex with his woman. So you can go and look at someone who is lazy or not doing what he's doing or doing what he needs to do on the outside, and you can kind of tell, okay, that's kind of how it's going to be if I let him in. Just lazy and not willing to do like the necessary work to like make it all go. So, but there's also a stat where it's like 70% of women don't have orgasms when they have sex neither. So I can also see how that could be like, an issue. And that's also one of those things where guys guys don't, have those conversations or talk about it. Right. Or I hear guys and they talking about, well, you better hurry up. Like, I know I'm gonna get mine. I'm just like, bro, to me, that's a red flag. It's selfish. If a guy isn't going to make sure like you are going to get yours too, well, then he's saying like, I'm not going to put forth the effort to, when things get tough, I'm not going to put forth the effort because I'm not even going to put forth the effort with having sex. Right. You know what I mean? So.
No, I definitely think it says a lot.
It does.
Yeah, for sure. Fellas, let's do better. All right.
Please. For us single women. We're begging.
Okay, so what do you think the single most important thing a man can do to protect his family?
I would say be a godly man and a man that prays for his family.
Okay.
That is the first thing. And then the second thing I would just say is be honest and vulnerable and say, hey, I need help. Talk, communicate. Whether it be with whoever you're dating or married to, or even just a mentor to say, hey, I need help. Maybe you don't feel comfortable coming to your wife or whatever for whatever reason, but tell someone you need help. But for sure, first, be a God-fearing man.
So for me, I think, I know he said the one single most important thing that a black
don't blame me.
should do. No, wait. I'm going to come right behind you with two. So, because what we did not talk about this.
Sorry. It's all good.
The one single most important thing, but obviously there can't just be one.
Yeah, for sure.
It has to be two.
That's
for me, it's, I would say being transparent and taking care of himself. Kind of like what you said, Yanni. I always say that you are the best you for everyone else when you are the best you for yourself. So taking that back to like mental health, I think that being the best you for yourself will automatically make you better for your partner or for your family. And as far as protection, I would say transparency, being able to communicate well and express what you're feeling and what you're going through. With Black men in particular, I feel like they're not always as transparent, or maybe they don't feel the freedom. Maybe they don't date women that make them feel like they can be transparent. But I feel like if I know that you're struggling, if I know what you're going through, that actually will protect me. Mm-hmm. Like that helps me because we're able to address that. So like that's actually safe for me. So like you being transparent, you being open will create safety for me because I already know what you're dealing with. I already know what you're struggling with. I already know what's going on in your life. And so we're being transparent about that. We're not both walking around in a house with issues and nobody's talking about it, you know? So yeah. And then that will also show me in what ways can I show up to help you, to help assist you, to help aid you, to help, protect things with you or that sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. I like it. So do you think it's taboo? Kind of when you talked about loving on yourself first, like I feel like a lot of people like they try to put their wife or their kids in front of themselves when it comes to loving on themselves last and trying to give to everyone else, and they think like there's like honor in that, and I think that is maybe one of the things that could be destroying families,
right?
Where men aren't filling themselves up to give to the people that's in their lives. Mm-hmm. They are just, giving on an empty tank. So they're not giving anything, but they're just making assumptions that they are. Right. And if, someone isn't appreciative, then they feel some type of way because they feel like they're just giving, everything to their family.
Yeah, I definitely think, just like to go back to that point that I was making, I definitely think that you can't give from an empty cup. Like, like you're not going to, if you think about like water, and I think of, that glass of water, it's 2 glasses of water and 1 glass of water is full. The 1 glass has 1/4 and that's you. And, like the full glass is everybody else, everything that you're dealing with, everything that you're giving to, but or we'll just say the other glass is half full. Mm-hmm. So then you go and give your 1/4. Well, that 1/4 still doesn't even fill the half. So both of y'all are now unfulfilled. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're not full. And so I can speak for myself. And I feel like the same thing could be said about men, is that you are the best you when you're the best for yourself. Like, I'm better for me when I take care of my mental health. I'm better for you. I'm better for everybody I'm going to be around. My demeanor is better. and that sort of thing. So I think that same thing with men. I definitely think that I don't think there's honor in putting yourself last. I actually don't. I'm going to have to disagree with that. I don't believe there's honor. I do believe that the pressure that is honor is hurting.
Yeah.
Is hurting people, and I think that could even be leading to the suicide rate, because men have these like great pressures that they feel the need to, put this before and put this before and put this before. But your family also needs you to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, they also need you to be just the best version of you, and so therefore you can be better for everyone else, and so you won't experience burnout fatigue.
Yeah. Yeah. Fact.
I feel like I literally just dealt with that. Like with my marriage, I feel like I gave all, you gave all, you give all. Not even just my marriage. I think just where I was living at that time in general. Just give, 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 give. And I was like, well, maybe if I'm serving, maybe if I'm serving my husband, maybe if I'm, helping the family. And it got to the point where I literally was like about to break, like about to have a mental break. And I was like, I got to take care of myself. And I did. And I think honestly, the move to Odessa has played a key part. I've had to like restart my faith, got rebaptized, which was big for me, getting myself back in school, reminding myself what I love, what I like to do. And I think now when it comes to the time when I would get into a relationship now, I feel like now I can handle it better. I can give a man more because I kind of know how to pour back into myself and kind of pour in him at the same time.
That's good.
That is good. All right. So this is one thing for 4 years I was a bib coordinator, which I was supposed to hold men accountable for, when they were abusive in a relationship.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Men are very hard to hold accountable because they, in my opinion, they always try to blame everyone else before themselves. And that's just from my perspective. But do you think men hold themselves accountable for their actions? And I guess give me also a percentage of, men that do hold themselves accountable for their action. I would say 25%.
You want us to give you a percentage?
Yeah.
I was gonna say like 5.
Oh, okay, that's good. I'm out a lot. I was 10 to 15. I'm trying to give it a little bit.
Maybe
So maybe I need to meet the end,
10 to 15%.
Right. I was like, ooh, who do you know?
So 5%, Yanni. I'm gonna say 25.
For the men who do hold themselves accountable. It's hard for me because I feel like I know some good guys who do hold themselves accountable. But these are like married men, like my friends' husbands and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like they hold themselves accountable.
That's good.
And so, and they give me hope to think that there are other men out there who hold themselves accountable. I'll say 25 with you.
Okay.
So yeah.
I need to meet some different guys, obviously.
Assumption's a hell of a drug, though, man. Assumption's a hell of a drug. Because we can all assume that relationships are like, oh, that's a perfect relationship. And I used to think that for a while, but then I started like doing the work, and I just realized like, ain't no perfect relationship. Like it's messy. It's gonna be messy. So all right. So why do you think that is so low? Why do you think men don't hold themselves accountable for their actions?
So, just like thinking about your question, that question, and do men hold themselves accountable? I don't really feel like this is something that I can answer for all men, of course, like we just made that assumption, because each man is different, just like women, we're all different as well. But I can speak on the men that I know, that's whether that's present or in the past. And I do feel that some men do hold themselves accountable, but maybe not always as quickly as some may like, or as quickly as the situation is needed.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's kind of like, I'm glad you're telling me your truth, but I needed it a month ago or last week when I asked you. So I guess another good question for me would be, do men hold other men accountable? And just because I feel like that's big to me, it's not enough for a man to see an issue with the situation and then tell me one thing, but not hold his friend accountable for it. And so I guess just also men being able to either address it within themselves or also within their boys. Because a lot of the men who I know who do hold themselves accountable don't hold their homies accountable,
For facts.
And so, yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay, so let me justify why my percentage is so low. I feel like mine is low because the men that I've been around are dealt with. Um, I believe like society like tells them like they don't have to be accountable for something certain stuff, or like they try to push the blame off on other people. There's times where I'm like, hey, this has happened, or hey, you made me feel this way, and it's like, oh, well, you took it that way,
Right.
or that's what men do. They cheat. What? That's not an excuse at all, and it's not okay. But I think for sure, the one that I'm thinking of, society said it's okay, and for some reason they just feel like they can just pass the blame off on anything, the first thing that comes to their head that they think makes sense.
Yeah.
So it hurts.
So level of entitlement too. Like
True.
men feel like, they're entitled to it, so they can.
Yeah.
And so and then if they can, then they'll blame it on. Well, that's what I've learned over time.
Especially if they've gotten away with it more than once.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, I know one of my biggest things was like, if you don't do it, somebody else will. And it's so like it's so jacked up to say things like that.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where like, you assume that that's what, when we're talking about cheating and going outside, you assume like that's what you need at that time. Again, you're trying to cope with it in ways that are just so jacked up. So if it wasn't coping with another woman, it was either watching porn or just going to get drunk, black out, and not remember anything.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're still creating chaos in your life that you're going to have to explain or apologize. And if you don't want to apologize or look at yourself, then it's easy to be like, well, it was alcohol,
Right.
or it was porn, or I told you what I needed. And you just sound like a little bitch when you do things like that. And I've had to like look in the mirror to myself and be like, Aaron, you are a little bitch. Because like I was. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I was just running around, again, creating all this chaos and all this mess, not being accountable. Thinking I was accountable, but not being truly accountable for like, hey boss, like there's some issues that you got to deal with. And the only way you're going to be able to deal with them if you stop what you're doing and look in the mirror and be like,
you got to find them head on.
Hey, this is what it is. And so I think because men don't want to be accountable, that's just what they do. They just kind of run from it, and it's easy to blame everybody else.
Sweep it underneath the rug.
Right, and I feel like for a lot of men, sometimes it's like, if you're with someone who's very forgiving, and so I think you take that for granted. Like,
take advantage of it.
They'll forgive this.
For sure.
Like, I'm sure, this isn't going to be the icing on the cake, or this isn't going to be the final straw, like, they've forgiven things in the past. And also, I think that's why I kind of have, like, this rule where I've talked to Yanni about it before, but, like, when I'm married, there are just certain things that, like, it's forgivable, but it's not forgettable, and I will divorce because of it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I definitely think that if I don't follow through, it gives this like perception of like, you let this slide, you might let it slide again.
Yeah. For facts.
Yeah.
But I've also heard women say that, but when you're in the thick of things,
it changes.
Right.
They, you sit down and you realize like I'm going to fight for this person. If that person's worth fighting for, if that person's not worth fighting for, if there isn't like, again, the actions to change, and it's just like, this is just what it is, well then, we're out. But I've heard women say like, that's their bottom line. But then when they're in it, it's like, well,
let's try it again.
Yeah, let's figure it out. Or do you think a lot of times it's because of, kids or money?
I was just going to say different factors.
And so if the dude is like, a multi-millionaire and you're living the life that you always wanted to live, are you going to, make an issue about it? Or will you like go and do your own thing too, since he's doing his own thing?
Sounds like we were talking about yesterday.
That becomes like a toxic situation right there.
Toxic. Remember I was saying, I was like, well, it just depends. Some people marry for the lifestyle, and then that's okay. They're okay with kind of like turning the other cheek to whatever it is. I was telling Yanni, I was like, I can only speak for me right now, but like I'm a lover girl. So like I want love and I want genuine love. And so I don't think no matter what the lifestyle is that I could really just take my feelings out of it.
What impact do you want to leave on this earth?
For me, I feel like if I would have gotten this question years ago, my answer would have probably been different. At this point, I want to leave. The impact that I want to leave now is pretty simple. I want to know that if anything ever happened to me, even now, that those who I have been around and come in contact with, that has, I guess, came around me or anything like that, that they feel loved, accepted, and heard. I often find myself drawn to people dealing with difficult seasons, whether or not that's like grief or different things like that. And I think that's because like a part of me relates to what it's like to like go through something and to feel lonely or to feel like you don't have people there for you. Mm-hmm. So I have a really big heart for, even when I was young, I used to always say that I wanted to speak up for those who don't have a voice, whatever that is, whether that's like, at one point I really had a big heart for like sex trafficking and like that sort of thing and women and children. I haven't really been able to like narrow it down to like really where I want to take that with. But that's the impact that I think I would like to leave. I like whenever people get around me and the thing that they leave saying is like, Kelsie made me feel heard. She made me feel seen. She made me feel accepted. Like no matter what the truth was, like Kelsie accepted me and I felt loved. And so, yeah, that's the impact that I feel like I want to leave. It's probably a more simple one than what I would have given you years ago.
Gotcha.
Years ago when I would have said no. I think the impact that I want to leave is just one to let everyone know that it's okay not to be okay. I think that's kind of where I am in the last couple of years, just to know, hey, things happen, life happens. You kind of have to get up and, allow God to put you back together. Is what I would say. I would like my impact to be.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that for sure. Things happen. Yeah. For a fact. People walk around here and they make the assumption that it can't happen to them.
And it
can.
It can 2 times, 3 times, 4 times.
And it will. Yeah.
And it keep happening. It keep going in the same circle.
For a fact. But also keep getting up and, keep trying. Like just don't give up. Don't quit. Right. Because again, if you really want your life to be the best it could possibly be, you're going to continue having to get up and fighting for the things that you want. So,
and also I would say that every last single person's story is important, to touch back on that.
For sure.
Like I feel like everyone has a story that someone else needs to hear to get them through what they're currently going through.
For sure.
But I feel like it's up to us as humans to share it.
Yeah.
However you feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like you, I guess, like don't relate or like no one's gonna is going through this, and then like you said, you put something out there and it's like your highest viewed, a podcast, and you realize like you probably had all types of people writing you, and you're like, oh dang, y'all too. They were just waiting for the right person to speak up, and I definitely believe that people are attached to your truth. Mm-hmm. I believe that there are people who will walk in truth once you walk in yours.
For sure.
And so, like, I definitely believe that you carry that with you. There are people who need to hear your story or hear what you have to say or your impact or whatever ways, like I said, not everybody does podcasting or writes or whatever it is. But even if like I have friends who have like nonprofits, and like that's something that I would like to start like in the future. And so that's something that people are attached to that. Like start your nonprofit. That's something that people will be blessed by.
All right, so I appreciate y'all for jumping on and having this conversation with me.
Thanks for having us.
For sure.
Thanks for having us. We enjoyed it.
And again, this podcast is about creating a space for people to come on and just talk about issues that we normally wouldn't talk about. But it's geared towards more of finding ways men can be better and do better, and learning from all different perspectives, I think is key. And so I thank y'all for coming on and giving your time and your stories, and opening up and letting people in on some of the things that you have gone through. I believe that this is a place where you can also heal, or this is a place where you get to start to question certain things about life, and it just it helps you grow and be better as a person. So again, I appreciate y'all for jumping on. Like, subscribe, share, or don't. Guys got me anyway. Amen. Love y'all. Bye.
Yay, bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And for daily, motivational, and up-to-date content, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Excellence Above Talent. And remember, keep moving forward, never give up, and you are never alone in this battle. We'll see you next time.